What I'd like to address is this phenomenon of two people, sincere and intelligent perhaps, but having two profoundly different points of view. And it has to do, the difference of opinion has to do with the motives of the president. So let me set the stage by reading hastily excerpts from this young man's message that I received. I'll call him Lin, because I can't say his name. He's got a Japanese name. And so rather than butcher his name, I'm going to give him a nickname. And I apologize for that. He says, "Thanks for the messages. I think this is one channel you'll want to take a look at," and he gives the link. The full witness statement of Jamie Lee Jones can be found there, along with the remarks and questions of some of the representatives who questioned her. One of those videos, I think it's Conyers' question video, asked a lawyer there about jurisdiction in Iraq. He says the State Department, and I think the Department of Defense, signed a memorandum of understanding regarding legal situation in Iraq. Interestingly, while the State Department claims that the Department of Justice has jurisdiction in these cases, and I think they do, by the way, I'm interjecting that, the memorandum of understanding does not mention the DOJ at all. There was no DOJ presence in Iraq. I don't know whether there was or not, is my opinion on that. It had no investigators there. I don't know whether they are there or not. It was jurisdictionally responsible, but had no ability to enforce that jurisdiction. Well, I don't quite agree with that, because, see, there's no representative from the Department of Justice on my property in my home right now, but I am under their jurisdiction, and they can come fetch me and drag me to trial. I don't see why they couldn't fetch me if I was in Iraq. Someone would have to bring an accusation against me, first. And I think that would be the responsibility of the injured party to do that. Let me hastily interject here that if someone did me great bodily harm and great injustice, such as what happened to Jamie Lee Jones, for example, but if they did me harm, if somebody harmed me, and I went to my employer and filed a grievance with my employer, that is not quite the same as bringing my problem to the proper authorities. True, I did sign a contract with my employer binding myself to arbitration of disputes rather than possibly taking him to court in a civil court and try to extract money damages if I thought he did me wrong. But however, it wasn't my employer that did me wrong, it was a coworker, or perhaps not a coworker but a fellow American who was stationed in Iraq with me. I don't see why I would be inclined to address or accuse or try to seek a remedy by or through my employer. That's confusing at this point. So whether or not the Department of Justice has a presence in Iraq, I think is moot, because I insist that they have a presence anywhere they want to be. If they wanted to fetch me from orbit around this planet from the space station, I think they could, even though there is not physically a member from the DOJ on board that space station. He says there is no DOJ presence in Iraq. It had no investigators there. It was jurisdictionally responsible but had no ability to enforce that jurisdiction. The video explains it more thoroughly. He says, "What disturbs me is the idea that Guantanamo started playing back again in his mind," is what he says. He started to think of Guantanamo. which he calls, quote, the idea that you can limit the reach of law. Then, whatever you do outside of that reach is not unlawful. Double negative intended. I don't feel that either of these examples is an attempt by the Bush administration to limit the reach of the law. I said that the DOJ could fetch me from orbit if I was in the space station and suppose I committed a crime against a U.S. citizen while on board the space station. But however, here is an example where the DOJ does not have jurisdiction, and that is what? In war. I don't think, and here's my point, I don't think that George Bush is trying to create a situation whereby he can evade laws, such as was implied in the message in reference to crimes that took place in Iraq, in this case in the Green Zone, near Baghdad, or in Baghdad, having to do with employees of KBR. And maybe that's the key point, is the fact that Congress did not declare war. In which case, if they had, it would be more clear, because in World War II, our government did round up alleged war criminals. War criminals were arrested and tried and executed. And today people are trying to accuse George Bush of trying to evade the law or operate outside the Constitution. I don't think that's the case at all. I don't think the President is trying to dismiss the Constitution. I think he is, unfortunately, inadvertently, through no plan of his own, forced to operate inside a gray area, and it might be because Congress never declared war.